Hey guys, I am going to be redoing a video that I did 12 years ago about an origami. So there's me holding up my origami wreath that I made. It is still a video that gets watched a lot this time of year, and I know that it's not that easy to follow because I don't have the best camera setup. So I'm going to try it again and see how we do today. You can definitely still watch that video. It goes over how this is a modular origami make, which means that you have a lot of different pieces that you connect together. So in this case, I'm going to be gluing them all together. The modules are all the same. So every single module that you make, and you're going to be making 8 of them, is going to look like this. So I'm going to go through, and I've only made 4 so far, even though we have to make 8, because I want to go through this as much as possible and show all of the different ways that you can think about it. Because I know everyone thinks differently. It's not specifically something that only people who are good at origami can make. Like, I wouldn't call this a advanced fold at all. I don't really do advanced folds. I would call it more intermediate, but I know that you can do it. I have faith. So I'm going to show a couple of different ways to do it. So we're starting off here by folding the square diagonally. So you have an X like that. And then I'm also going to go ahead and reinforce the folds the opposite way, because that makes the rest of the folds a little bit easier. So there are some terms. I'm not like full into the origami like I was back when I made the first video, so I don't remember all of the terms. But what I do know is this is a valley fold, that this is a mountain fold, and I basically just did a valley fold and a mountain fold across both diagonals. You take one of the sides. It literally doesn't matter which side, because the whole thing is symmetrical. So you're going to be doing this on every single one. So you take the side and you fold it into that center crease that you just made and unfold. And then you do that on all sides. So you're going to do them all clockwise, and then you're going to do them all counterclockwise as well. So just go ahead and do them all like that. And make sure that your point is nice and pointy and you don't have any overlaps. So in my last video, I used some sturdier paper. This is just the regular kami paper that you can get. So I don't know how sturdy it will be when I put them all together, but it will definitely still work. When you put lots of pieces of paper together, it gets more sturdy. So, and the glue can help also. Right. So I know sometimes just seeing all the folds can be really confusing, but just keep on going. Make sure every single side is folded into the center crease that you made, the diagonal crease, and then you unfold it. And then that's how you find your crease pattern. It's a little bit easier to see it this way. I'm just going to mark all the folds that we have. We also have the X in the center, which I'm not going to do fully because it makes it a little bit harder to see everything. Alright, so this is what we have now. We have all those folds that we made by folding the edges into the center line like that. So now you want to make a square. Let me get a different color. Right now we have like an offset octagon, right? So if you think about cutting off the octagon, like those little corners, then you're going to make a square. One way you can think about it is you fold this corner to where those two lines meet, and then fold there. But you don't really want to fold it all the way across. You just want it to go from this line to this line, or from this point to this point. And that center square is 45 degrees different from the square of the origami paper. You'll be able to see that if you fold along these lines here on any of the sides, and you also keep that fold folded up, you're going to have a little extra triangle pointing out. So instead of just squashing it down, you want to take that triangle and you want to, remember in the beginning we folded the diagonal this way and then we flipped it and folded it this way. This is why, because right here you're going to fold it back the other way so that the colored part of the paper is touching the colored part of the paper like that. And then we're going to be making a little triangle down here. So to make that triangle the shape that you want and like start at the exact right place, you are going to make sure that these folds are folded down and these points are all the way down towards the table. And then you push these forward a little bit. And then you pinch this backwards and fold it backwards a little bit. And then before you make any committed creases, take the point and then fold it over this way. And then make sure that it goes flat against the paper there. So you want it to meet up. So you don't want it to be like this, and you don't want it to be like this. If it folds just like that, that's the right place. So now go back from that point and push down, and then that's your crease. Then you can push this back the other way also, make sure it's lined up, and do a nice crease. So you can see in doing that, you made this triangle here. So now you can just unfold all of that, and we'll take a look at the folds that we made. So this triangle here, we flip it over, is this triangle here. Ooh, let me get a different color. So we made this triangle. And then to get rid of the excess, we also made these little folds here. So all of these folds here that I'm drawing out, those are the folds from folding it this way and this way. So then you can unfold that and do the same thing on the other side. On all four other corners, I should say, because you want to do it exactly opposite, and then you also want to do it 90 degrees away. So same thing, make sure that this fold and this fold are folded and that this is completely flat down. This will be sticking up because there's a little extra paper there, so it can't lie flat. So in order to make it lie flat, you need to kind of maneuver it back and forth this way and then this way. Then unfold that, do it 90 degrees away, do the same thing. And it's helpful for me to remember that this part is going, like the corners of the paper are going to be folded back like that. backwards instead of the white part touching the white part, the colored part is touching the colored part. And then it actually kind of makes kind of like a, almost like an accordion or like a W. And one more time. And this is probably the hardest part of it, is this fold. Everything else is a little bit, can get a little bit confusing, but I think this is the actual hardest fold of it. And see, it's not that hard. Once you make sure everything's nice and flat and you push it side to side and make sure everything is lining up, then you're going to be good to go. Alright, so now we did all of those, we did all that folding, and we've unfolded everything, right? So it feels like you're starting over, but with all of these creases, the rest of it's gonna go really simple. So this circle, whoa, this square here, that's gonna be the size match up with the square of that there. So that's going to be the size of the module. So we're going to fold everything in on one side like that. And then you want to kind of think about this 3D here. So you want there to be not only the X and the Y, but you also want the Z direction. So that's why it's kind of hard to explain this, this fold. Now we want to basically do this on all four corners at the same time. But the way that we do that is by getting part of the paper to kind of hide and tuck underneath. So this is going to be facing straight up towards you, towards the ceiling, towards heaven. And the rest of the paper is on the table. Now you're going to take this, the next one, and push this underneath the first one. So this extra, I'm going to push underneath. So if you kind of think about them folding together like that, you have all this extra paper and you want to get rid of that. So the way to get rid of that is just tuck it underneath. And you want it to be nice and neat. So you tuck it in as close to this paper as you can and then fold down. And then you can see these are still poking up out towards the ceiling, but that excess paper is all gone. And then you can do the same thing here. Fold that under. Get it nice and close. And then push all of that underneath and make it nice and flush. And then this is going to be the hardest one because everything's already in there, but you can still do it. It's just like closing a box when you kind of like overlap everything. Now, if this was 12 o'clock, this is going to be 9 o'clock, so you're going to push it into underneath the 6 o'clock one. So now, we don't want it to be too 3D. This is mostly flat. There's a little bit of dimension to it, but nothing's really sticking out towards the ceiling. So we're going to take these and fold them down, but we don't want to just fold it down like this. Not for this fold. So instead of doing that, we're going to do a squash fold. You have the bottom of the triangle flat against the rest of the paper, and then the side of the triangle is pointing 90 degrees away. So you just want to put this side of the triangle that's 90 degrees away, you want to put it on this line. So you just take it and move it down like that. And while you do that, if you push the paper to the side, then it's going to look like that. But I'm going to try to show that again this way. So you have this part of the paper. You want to push it down flat and put it against this line. like that. And then you just push it flat where it lies. And as long as you're getting those two lines that I talked about, this part of the triangle and this part of the triangle, to line up right, then it's going to be sitting in the right place. So like you're not going to go way over here because the lines aren't lining up that way. And then the same thing again. The things that were pointing up towards the ceiling before, now they're nice and flat down with the rest of them. And then to finish it off, to make them look a little bit more presentable, you get the corner or like the side, and you just fold it into the center line there, like that. And that kind of holds everything down a little bit nicer, and it finishes it off kind of nice. It makes more of a pattern because it shows more of the folds, which is nice. So that is a finished module. I'm going to show you how to make this one more time, and I am going to show how I would do it with, like, now that I understand how to make it, and I don't have to think about all the little things. So I do fold it in half still, the same way like this, along the diagonals, and then I do flip it and fold along the diagonals again, like that. And then I fold the edges into the inside. You know, the squares. Sometimes, if I'm having a hard time seeing, which can happen because it's dark all of the time now in the winter, I will fold it in half like that so that I can see better where to fold these folds. And then they should still line up nicely. All right, here's something that might make it easier to understand. So if I went from here, if I'm working on this bottom point here, and you just made this point here, so you want to unfold that, and then when you do this next fold, you want neither of those folds that you just made to be part of it at all. So you go to the bottom point on this side, which would be like that, and the bottom point on this side, which would be like that, and you take those and you fold them both at the same time, and then you pull a little out until that crease starts to form there. And that crease there is the same thing as if you were to take this and fold it to that point there. And then while you're here, you pull this back and you make that triangle that we made in the next step, and you push the kind of ears down to get those creases. Make sure that everything's lined up. Then unfold that, turn it 90 degrees, and then take these two and then pull. So this is how I would make it now that I know and I've practiced. I've done a lot of these. I just keep going around and doing it like this. So then you can keep that one down and then just push this in like that. So you can kind of pull it down all the way this way and then make this crease here like that. And that's the easiest way. I'm going to show that again closer. So you have this one you just formed. Now you want to form this one again. You have that extra paper, so you want to pull this up and push it down there and then reform that crease. And then that should be in the right place. This one goes there, and this one goes there, there. So you might have to maneuver it a little bit to get them all under the right place, but it will go there. Just make sure that they're all kind of staying together like that. And then I'm gonna try to explain the squash fold a little bit better. So we're just focusing on this one here. So you take this and you put this point and you want to keep everything else flat. Then take this point as far down to the table as you can. It should go all the way down to the table, and it should go as far away from the center as possible. And then in doing that, these two edges will go out to the side and just form those creases like that. And this part, I often find that my folds aren't perfect. So at this stage, I'm usually pretty disappointed in what it looks like. That's why this next step is so important. Just kind of push them all together like this. Push the edges together, and then that cleans everything up. If, of course, you are more careful in the beginning stages, you are not going to have these gaps here. But once I put these folds in, I don't really even mind the gaps because, I said mind the gap and then, my brain went somewhere else. It's not so bad. So I am going to fold the next two. If anything comes up that I can think of that might make it a little bit easier or might explain it in a different way that I can think of. Because I know everyone's brain is different. I know that I'm particularly origami minded because I've been doing it and I gravitated it towards it in the first place, probably because my brain just gets it. So I'm going to do my best to try to explain it to other people. But a good way is just by showing it again, doing some good repetition. So this is another way you can think about doing these little triangle folds, is if you do the exactly opposite each other, it will look like this, which I think this might be some sort of frog base or something. This should go this way, and this should go this way. So now that's right. So you can see that it kind of locks together just a little bit. Squash fold time. And then these next folds that are here, they're more for design than anything. They kind of keep things together at the end, but it's less structural than the other fold. Alright, so that's the 7th one, and one more. So if your brain has a hard time thinking about it as 4, symmetrically 4 that way, or radially symmetrical, or what have you, you can think of it kind of as symmetrically 2 ways, and then just do it twice. So you have this side that you fold up, unfold, and then do it on this side. And then you just have to worry about 2 right now. Then open it up, reset your brain, and just think about it again. Symmetrically do it on this side and then on this side. And then you will have done it all the way around on all 4 corners, but it won't boggle your brain so much. I'm going to explain this part again. So we have these steep lines going down to this corner. You want to unfold those and then find the shallow lines that kind of cross up here. And then instead of letting it cross up there, you pull it here and then you can push that down to find that the point there still goes to the cross point of those two lines there, and then fold that down there, and you'll know where to stop here and here, where these lines come up to. Then you can do the same thing on this side, and then just fold it straight across there. Then open it up, turn it 90 degrees, and then do the same thing again. So you only have to think about two sides now. And now you can do your little rabbity ears or like frog legs, whatever helps you think about this little part that pokes up. And same thing on this side. Don't forget you're making a triangle here. You're folding this back colored part to colored part, which is why we folded it backwards in the beginning. Then make these folds back and forth. Then turn it 90 degrees, unfold everything, reset your brain, and do the same thing. Now this next part is going to be harder if you have a hard time thinking about it in symmetrically in 4 different corners. So just go slow. Alright, and then you can see that it took some finagling to get everything in the right place. Don't worry about that if that happens to you. Just don't rip it, don't force anything, just keep on pushing everything to where it's supposed to go. It's okay if the paper wrinkles because it's going to be underneath anyway. It's not even going to be shown. Now you do your squash folds. These are your last sets of squash folds. When you get to your 8th one, you're going to be so happy. You're going to feel so accomplished, and you're like, yes, I don't have to do these squash folds anymore. Because at the end, by the end, you have done 32 of those squash folds, and you have done 64 of these little folds here. And you are all done. So now you should have 8 of these, and now you just have to glue them together. So I'm going to just go, you want to put the dark green into the light green. And then you take a light green and put it into the dark green. Now if yours are all the same color, it might be a little bit harder to remember, but just remember that each one will only have one going into it, and it will only go into one other one. So if I was trying to like do this light green one is in 2 other ones, so that's not right. So you want to make sure that it is going into one and it's not going into anything else, but nothing is in any of the little pockets there, so you can put it in like that. And then just keep going around like that as you get towards the end. It's gonna start looking like a square. It's gonna start looking like a circle. And I didn't have 4 of the dark green ones, so I just have to keep my wits about me and make sure that this one goes into here and this one goes into there. And that's going to be my wreath. So I'm going to glue those together. Alright, so I was gluing them all together. All of these are already glued together. And then I got to the last one and I thought I should show that. So just to reiterate what we talked about, this dark green one is going into this light green one. This light green one is going into this dark green one. So this dark green one will go into this light green one. And then, like I said, I didn't have another dark green one to go here, but this light one will go into the first one. So let's just put some glue there. And some glue here. And there you have your finished wreath. So what did you think? Was that easier to understand? Did you make it? Let me know in the comments. And I will see you next time. Bye!